All right, folks, I'm back. Game number 28 of Morphy's Games of Chess. We got the Lowenthal Morphy match continuing. This is the ninth match game held on August. They got a question mark, not sure which day, folks. 1858. Can you believe it? All right, now, obviously, you're looking at the board. You see we got a little cosmetic change, I hope it goes okay. This is the Shredder Chess program. I just had a problem with my screen recorder. Wasn't communicating with the Genius Chess program. I don't know why. But I think this is going to turn out nice. I like the way the black pieces pop. You can see everything pretty nice here off that chestnut brown. All right, so anyway, there you go. Let's get into it. Lowenthal's got the white pieces. He starts with E4. Morphy answers E5. Oh, wait, look at this. Shredder wants to tear me up. Hold on, I got to enter the moves. We take back that Sicilian by Shredder. All right, here we go. E4, E5 by Morphy. All right. Now the knights come out. There you go. See, I'm getting used to this Shredder program. A little different. All right. I got the nuts and bolts of it, though. Let's go with this. We got the Ruy Lopez by Lowenthal. See this, folks? Now, here we got a move by Morphy. Look at this. Bishop to C5 on move 3. The only instance of Morphy playing this on the third move of the Lopez. It had been played against him recently by Bowden. Game 194, folks. We'll get to that one down the road. It says Jay Lowenthal suggests that Morphy was anxious to test the merits of Bowden's fifth move in the variation. Can you believe it? The guy did this game, big money game here, big reputation on the line, right, folks? And here's Morphy experimenting, huh? Nerves of steel, I'll tell you, this guy Morphy was something else. All right, so here we go. How does Lowenthal answer this? Here we go. C3, right? To push D4, hitting that bishop on C5. All right, no problemo. Here comes the queen. Look at this now, folks. What happens? What happens if he does this now? You take, and look at this. You lose the E-pawn now. White would lose the E-pawn. See that? So Morphy's indirectly stopping D4 with the tactics, folks. Queen to E7. All right, no sweat. Lowenthal, castles, right? Now let's do something stupid. Let's just throw in a stupid move just to see. Look at this, folks. You're going to do it now? What's going on? First of all, the bishop's hanging, right? But even if you take here, look at this, folks. What are you doing? Look at this threat. You got to remember these in the king-pawn games, folks. When the pawns get traded, look out if your king's not castled. Look at what can happen to you. Game over for black. Pinning that queen to the king down the E-file. All right. So, Morphy, no H6. Come on now. Let's get real. Here's Morphy, F6. Can you believe that? Taking away the best square for the knight, the king knight. Taking the best square away. All right, so anyway, here we go. What are we up to now? That's move what, folks? We're on move 6. All right, here we go. Here's the notes. Now we have the Bowden variation consisting of the combination of moves 3, 4, and 5. Jay Lowenthal remarks, it seems to us to give a more cramped position than any other defense, and we cannot recommend it. It is noteworthy that Morphy never adopted again a variation so uncongenial to his temperament. Folks, this is something, I mean, not every game's a gem, but I'll tell you, at least you see what not to do. Morphy never did this again. You can't have a brilliancy prize every game. You know what I mean? All right, so let's watch what happens to Morphy here. Even the best could slip up. All right, watch this now. You got let's see. You got F6 by Morphy, right? And now here we go. D4, launch the D pawn. That's why C3 is played. All right, so now Morphy backs the bishop back to B6. Right, now get this. Now the knight doesn't have the C3 square, right? So he brings it to here, to A3. Now, if the bishop was still on this diagonal, if a knight comes to A3, you chop it off right away, and you bust up the pawns over there. But since the bishop goes back, I mean, you're not going to do this, right? Oh, look, I doubled your 8 pawns. Yeah, well, you gave up the queen, right? I mean, this is obvious, but I'm just explaining a little joke in there, you know, just a little joke. No one's going to do this, right? But anyway, you see that? The bishop's on b6 now, so the knight can come there. And he's not going to park the knight on a3. He's going to bring it to the center. You'll see. You'll see how it goes. All right, now here's Morphy moving his knight. Look at this. Moving the same piece twice. Look at this to d8, huh? Back rank. Bring the knight back. All right, you'll see the idea behind that. Here comes the other knight, like I said, to the center for Lowenthal. All right, so now they're hitting the 2 knights in this d pawn of white. They're teaming up on black's e pawn, right? For instance, again, throw a dumb move in like this. You know, you trade here, boom. Okay, you see what happens? You lose a pawn, right? So anyway, here's what Morphy does. After knight c4, right? He brings the knight. Yeah, he brings the knight to f7. There you go. All right, so this knight now made 3 moves, folks. 3 moves, right? Okay, so anyway, now you got Morphy moving his knight to e3. See that one, folks? Now that's the idea, moving the knight to the center. He's bringing it over there, right? So now you got, I think Morphy pushes the pawn up, right, to hit that bishop, I believe, right? I can't see. I don't have my reading glasses. Move 9. Here we go. Yes, bishop, pawn to c6, hitting the bishop. Now, like we talked about that game against Bowden, remember, Bowden was black, and Morphy was handling the white pieces. And I guess this interested him. Something about it he liked. He wanted to try it. So here he is with the black pieces trying Bowden's variation. Now, Morphy against Bowden, when he had white, he backed the bishop here, okay? And then, matter of fact, wait, he didn't. He threw the knight in first with the tempo on the queen, right? And then when the queen went back, then he brought this guy here, right? Bishop a4. Bowden hit the knight, and the knight went back to e3. Kept that knight in the center, like, right? Influencing the center. So anyway, that's how Morphy played it. Watch, this is the difference now. Look at this. Goes a little different here. Morphy hits Lowenthal's bishop, but Lowenthal doesn't pull it back there. Actually throws the knight all the same, right? So Morphy goes back because you got the threat on the queen and the g7 pawn with check. The knight could take it with check. So Morphy covers both problems, and now Lowenthal doesn't come back here like Morphy did against Bowden. He put the bishop here. And then Morphy hits the knight, and Lowenthal doesn't bring it back to e3. He tries knight to g3. So it's a little different now, a little different. Okay? So let's go from there, right? So now we got move 12. Morphy, let's see, boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Getting ready to bring that queen bishop out on the light squares. d6 is played by Morphy. All right, here we go. Lowenthal expanding on the queen side. Here comes the bishop, pinning the knight on f3, right? Look at this, Lowenthal hitting the bishop on the other side of the board. No sweat. Morphy tucks the bishop down on c7. Backs it up. And then Lowenthal hits the other bishop. All right, he decides to hang on to this guy. He brings it back to d7. And if you look, folks, look at this. Look at the setup for Morphy. I mean, he's cramped as can be, right? All these pieces. Look at these knights. I mean, the king knight didn't move. The rook, the queen's in the way on f8. I mean, get the bishops. They're not doing much. They're enclosed behind the fence, the pawns, right? All right. So anyway. So now we got move, let's see, was it move 16? Move 16. All right. So then here we go. Queen to b3. Okay. Morphy moves his knight. Once again, he brings it to d8. Now, the move here in the notes, they said to bring the bishop to c4, taking over this light square diagonal. See this, folks? the light square diagonal. The battery, folks, queen and bishop on the A7, G8 diagonal. Now you notice, see, like the F pawn moved, the E pawn moved up. That diagonal's wide open. All right, so now that's what he should have done, and it says here in the notes he should have played bishop c4 and then traded the pawns. Traded the E pawn, let's just say like this, just something silly. Traded there. That was the idea. I guess rip it open. Look at the king. The black king still on his starting square, and he's got a few moves to get to safety. So I guess you rip it open, right? But this isn't what Lowenthal did. That's what Max Lang suggested. He should have played that. Bishop c4, followed by pawn takes pawn on e5. All right, but here we go. Lowenthal plays the rook to e1. I guess a good move. It's opposite the enemy king, right? You open it up, could get dangerous. The tactics, right? But this gives Morphy a chance. He takes over that diagonal now. That's why the knight came to d8 to support the bishop on e6 and hitting the queen, right? All right, so Lowenthal brings the queen back. Brings the queen back to c2. Now you got a battery. You got the queen and bishop on the b1 h7 diagonal, but the e pawn's in the way, right? So the dynamics are not really as good as they were on that other diagonal. All right, so here you go. Morphy's got a little time now to get out of this, to unwind, right? Now you got let's see, move 18, right? Knight to e7. There you go, knight to e7. He's got one out. He's got to try to castle, folks. Here comes now that the queen's out of the way, queenside expansion. The pawns are marching up the board. He gets the queen out of there, gets the queen out of the way. Look at that. He fianchettoed the queen on g7. You ever see that one? All right, here we go. c4 by Lowenthal. Here come the pawns. They're marching down. Queenside expansion, folks. All right, the knight. Now he brings the knight, but he doesn't castle yet. He's got Lowenthal guessing. Which way is he going to go, right? Here we go. Knight to f7. Get that knight off the back rank. All right, here we go. Lowenthal developing his last piece. Bishop to e3. But here it says in the notes, bishop to b2 is stronger. 6 moves later, the bishop goes there. So that's where the bishop needed to be. You're going to see why in a second. He brings it over here instead. All right, he gets it developed, right? Okay, Morphy finally castles. He castles kingside. I mean, you got those pawns storming down on the queen side. I don't think Morphy wants to go over that way. Plus, he's got all his army, all the soldiers are on the king side. I don't know, it'd be pretty dangerous on the queen side if you ask me. All right, so here you go. Here comes Lowenthal now, expanding once even further, another step. Here comes the D pawn, hitting the bishop, right? Now, look at this dangerous threat, folks. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and black loses a bishop. Because if you haven't noticed, he could save that one, but look at that. See that, folks? He drops a bishop, queen takes, and white wins a piece. All right, now this didn't happen, don't get me wrong. After this, Morphy just brings the bishop back, but you gotta see those. You gotta see those little tactical traps, you know? That's why we're going over. That's what you gotta see. These things happen in your games all the time. All the time. Every game, you got all these little traps and pitfalls to look out. Got to sharpen that tactical eye, and you'll be in good shape. All right, so now the bishop goes to d7, and Lowenthal brings the other rook over. You know, you're going to rip it open. Makes sense. He's going to maybe take on c6, open it up. You got this d pawn that could be weak, the black's d pawn. All right, so let's see. That rook looks like it's a good spot. But anyway, Morphy moves the king over. And look at this, Lowenthal does the same. They tuck the kings away, and now the pawns get traded. Oh, wait, it's black's move. All right, my fault. King over, and Morphy takes. Morphy's the one who takes on d5. Okay? Now, if you take like this, like we saw in the other tactical shot, but that's not what Lowenthal does. He takes with the e-pawn. Now battle lines are drawn, folks. Battle lines have been drawn. Because you got to understand what this means. Look closely at the white queen side. You got 4 pawns, right? Versus, let me just grab this guy. You got 4 pawns right here versus black's 3. See that? So white has a queen side majority. He's going to try to trade down so that he has 1 pawn left to be a nice pass pawn. If he can protect it, you know, he can maybe put pressure on Morphy and get a queen, or, you know, or the tactics leading to whatever. Who knows what's going to open up? That's the idea. He's going to try to create a pass pawn. Okay, now Morphy, on the other hand, he's on the other side of the board, and he's going to try to combat that with a king side attack. All right, so that's the idea. Queen side expansion, get a pass pawn, versus black's king side expansion and a king side attack. All right, so here we go. And what's going to happen now after the pawn takes pawn, right? We have F5 by Morphy. Queen side expansion versus king side expansion, like I was saying. All right, here we go. Watch this now. Like we mentioned before, the bishop drops back. Okay, now watch this. You got 2 threats. It looks like there's 2 threats, right? You got the pawn fork threats. Look at this. And now, if you, I don't know, let's just throw in a silly move like this. Look, you got this. There's no threat, folks, because you could just simply take. Right, I'll even put the engine on to guide us. Look at this. Watch this. So here you go. The bishop can just take, because after this guy, you just come right in. You see, you lose a pawn that way. And I mean, at this point, white's winning. White's winning. He's up. Could get crazy, but I mean, look, he goes to protect his bishop over here. Right, he goes to, I mean, you don't want to take over here because you're still losing, right? You're losing piece after piece. All right, so anyway, so that's no threat. This is no threat. So you'd say, why does he move this one? Because there's also this threat, right, folks? There's the 2 right there, but look at what he does. Here he goes. He throws the bishop. He throws the bishop back here. All right? And you say, all right, isn't this still threatened, folks? Well, you can see the engine. Shredder jumps on you. You see what's going to be played? You see that arrow there? Bishop B2, folks. All right, stop cheating here. Stop cheating. Let's see. Well, I'll tell you what. Let it help with the analysis, right? This gets pretty crazy here. Watch this now. Because this is in the book, folks. Right here, this is the whole point. All right? They show a white's last move stopped the threat in advance of the king pawn. Because you think you're going to get one of these pieces, right? The bishop or the knight, right? But what ends up happening, okay? White pulls the bishop here, bishop to B2. Look, folks, your queen is you know, pinned to the king. So the only way to stop this losing the queen, you got to block it with your knight. It's the only piece that can block. All right, so white would chop that off. This is all in the notes, folks. The old masters had it figured out. Look at this. Now, they go, if you take here, this gets crazy, right? Now you're attacking the white queen with that pawn, right? But look at this. You go in with the knight with check. Once again, uncovering the bishop on B2, right? So, if you take, well, it's a check move too, folks. See that? It's a check. So he can't take with the queen, it's pinned. He could take with the pawn, or he could take with the knight, right? So I guess let's just do it like this first. You take with the knight. Well, here you go. You take with check. See that? It's a check move. All right. And now, look, white can easily capture. And basically what's happened is black's got 2 bishops for the queen. And the queen, as you know, is worth 3 minor pieces, okay? So it's like as if white's up a piece, a minor piece, right? Okay, so anyway, you take it from there, you take that way. Now look at this one. I mean, if you take with this, again, you're still taking with check, king takes. And then look at this, you take with check down here, you block. Oh, look at this, you check. I was going to say you could take with check, right? And then you just move the queen after that. But look at this. You don't even trade on f7. You check the king moves. All right, now you take him. All right, big deal. There you go. Look at this. Game over. However you want to take. You want to take with the rook? All right, fine. There you go. Game over. Again, 2 bishops for the queen. You're down, black's down. A minor piece plus. Count the pawns, folks. White's up 2 pawns. All right, game over. Forget about it. So that's that variation, right? So let's see something here, which is crazy. If black was to take, oh, it's a check. It's the check move. All right. So we looked at. I'm thinking pawn takes queen. You can't do it. So we looked at this. All right. So now, if he takes this way, right? Now you got bishop takes. And the pawn takes here, and there goes the pawn fork. See, you're going to win your minor piece back. And I guess, okay, this is how the engine, this is how the old masters wrote it, right? They said they go here with the knight, and then after pawn takes bishop, there you go. I mean, right at that point, that's where they leave it. And it just says white has a decided advantage. I mean, okay, we play it like this. You bring the bishop. You're trying to protect e4. But still, even at this point, look, folks, I mean, let's see. Let's do the math, right? Let's do the math. They got the 2 rooks. All right, so it's pawns. White won positionally. He's won a pawn. Look at this. They're saying to go here. Knight takes. Right. You can get a little further in. I mean, you could win this pawn. You could take with the knight, but I guess, let's see. Where's that knight going, folks? Where's the knight on a5 going? I mean, at this point, it says, oh, forget it. It says that white's up +4, almost +5. So that's a big advantage, right? And not to mention, you got this pawn here, folks. You got a pawn right on the 7. Sure, white's going to make something of that. So, I mean, let me make sure the material. You got 2 rooks, a bishop, a knight, a queen. And you got pawn on that 7th, I think, is the big thing here. All right. Plus, you got, heck, look at what's going on. You still got this tactic of the bishop taking on e5. That's what was threatened. So he's trying to save that. I guess that's the biggest key in this position. Look at this. You can't. I mean, that pawn on e5's pinned. It's totally pinned. He can't take. Now, what if you take en passant? All right, because that's a threat on the white queen. You take here. He takes. And it's opened up now, folks. Holy smokes. It's opened up. And he can't even take here. Now we just take back. Wow. It really falls apart. All right, now white's up +12, right? So, I mean, come on. It's over, folks. I mean, if you got to move here, if that's your best move, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. You take with check. All right, you get this one. All right, look at it. It's trying to figure it out. Shredder's trying to figure it out. I mean, you could take the bishop. You could, I don't know. The knight just come. This is your best move. All right, folks. I'm getting into it. I'm getting a little too into it. All right. Anyway, you see what happens. So there you go. That's how they now Shredder said to take, let's see, he's saying now to take with the bishop, right? And then you get it this way. And then he moves this here, I guess. Or the knight. Look, it wants the knight to go up there. All right. And I'm not even giving it time to really calculate much, you know. So he takes, and I guess he takes this way to protect that e5 pawn. All right, so at this point, +4 for white, right? So there you go. That's that little sideline. Interesting, right? Black gets destroyed. All on this tactic of the dark diagonal. See that? Bishop to b2. And it's curtains for black. All right, so we'll go back. So Lowenthal plays the bishop to c1. Just licking his chops if Morphy was to go in. But Morphy's, come on, you got to give him credit. He's only the best player at the time, right? So what does he do? What does he do? He brings his queen rook over here towards the center. All right. Figure it's going to open up. All right, so here we go. Lowenthal puts the bishop on b2 where it belongs. Look at all those beautiful shots, right? All right, good move. All right, Morphy with the knight back. These knights, I tell you, they're clumsy in this game. Not the way you want to play. All right, here we go. Queen to c3. Knight to f6. Now we get the other bishop dropping back. And then you got the rook. Look at this, folks. The rook coming over here. Wow, what's that about? All right, we'll see. You'll see about it. Now watch this. Lowenthal, good move. Rook to d2. What's he doing? All right, here comes the queen, right? Queen to h6. Okay. Knight goes back. The knight drops back, and here we go, folks. Pawn up, hitting the other knight. Here's the king side expansion. He's got the rook on the g file. He's going to try to tear it open. All right, here it comes. The knight goes there, and they swap. Right? Lowenthal takes back with the bishop. Okay, the bishop takes. And it's pawn expansion on the king side for Morphy, g5. Here come the pawns rolling. They want to come up to g4, folks. For instance, you want to come up here and you rip it open. You got your bishop on the light squares, right? You're going to take on h3. If he takes on g4, well, we take with the bishop. We got the rook on the g file. It's open. Beautiful stuff, right? We're getting that attack starts to gain steam. All right. The black pieces start to leap in. But Lowenthal with a good move right here. He stops the queenside expansion for a second, and he moves f3 to bolster g4. So now you can't really push the pawn, and you're just throwing it away. You can't rip it open yet now. So, all right, so what's that move is number 34. 34, all right. Now we got the queen move. Watch this closely, folks. Queen to h4, attacking the rook, undefended rook here, right? Look at this by Lowenthal. This is the game right here. He just moves it. Now, it's so subtle. He just moves the rook. He moves the rook to safety, right? To f1. But why did he move this rook over here? Why did he move it up? Right? To double those guys up, double those rooks, right? So he could have played rook to c2. Instead of retreating, he could have just protected his guy with a natural move that, I don't know, he moved the rook to d2. We all thought is, you know, in the notes, the way I saw it too, the old master saw it, everybody was saying he should have played the rook to e2 and double those rooks up. All right, so anyway, Lowenthal plays rook to f1. Not the most accurate move. They actually gave that a question mark. That's how bad that move was. All right, here comes Morphy with the knight. Knight to h6. Wants to leap that knight into the attack. All right, here comes the other rook, right? He makes the move anyway. He puts the rook on e2. That's where he wanted it to go. And look at this. It was all set up already for him. I don't know. I don't know what he did. Maybe it was touch move. I don't know what he did. I don't know. Maybe he accidentally grabbed the wrong rook. I don't know. But here it is. Here comes Morphy with the knight to f5. Ready to leap that guy into g3. You see it coming, right? The family fork, folks. I mean, for instance, you leap that knight right in. You're forking the king and both rooks. Take your pick, right? Heck, if he moves here, can you imagine this? It goes from bad to worse. You take this guy, now you're forking the king and the queen on c3, right? All right, but it doesn't even get that close because Lowenthal, sure enough, chops that guy right off. No queenside expansion. But notice, folks, Whose moves are gaining more steam? The king side, Morphy's king side attacks. He's got the initiative because now Lowenthal's just responding. He can't push his queen side pawns. Every move Morphy's making, you know, Lowenthal has to react to his attack over here on the king side. So he just chops them off. After the knight goes here, he chops them off. Can't push those queen side pawns. Morphy takes back, and lo and behold, here it even says the game was adjourned after 10 hours of play. Some modern players would rejoice in the rate of 7 moves an hour. Nevertheless, 10 hours match play in one day is a substantial portion. And that's what they're just giving a little detail of what's going on. It was actually here when Morphy leaped the knight in. Then they adjourned the game. I guess they came back the next day, and boom, Lowenthal takes it off. Morphy takes back with his bishop. And here we go. From there, queen side expansion finally for Lowenthal. Continuing his idea. Okay, here Morphy drops his queen back to protect, I guess, on this. You know, you got the bishop could take, but he's backing it up with defense of the queen along the his third rank. Okay, here comes the rook, right? Finally, now look at this. Now look, day late, dollar short. Look at this. Now the king rook goes back, and now he finally has those rooks doubled up. The rook goes whither it should have gone on move 35, and now threatens a sacrifice after pawn takes pawn. Let's show you what's going on. If he goes here, pawn takes pawn, right? And they give the notes if bishop takes back, right? What are we talking about? Let's bring the engine right in. Don't want to mislead you. Here it is. Rook takes, okay? And then you got, this is all because of that battery now, the dark square battery. The dark square battery, folks. We saw a light square battery. Now we see the dark square queen on c3, dark square bishop on b2. Look at this. He takes here, right? You take this way. You take back. Check. He goes here, right? Look at this. You lose. You lose your queen. See how you pull back? Now, look, you don't take here, folks. You don't take here because now it just trades down and you got, look, you got basically an end game. Knight versus bishop, right? But why do that when you got the game in the bag? Look at this. You just pull the queen back. You got to protect your bishop on b2. You can't move it just anywhere because then, I mean, look, you can move here. You can't take the queen because it's pinned. But he could take the bishop. You know, you could take the pinning piece. So you don't want to do that. You got to protect your bishop. Now he can do nothing. He has no knight to throw to block on the diagonal. He can't block with anything. It's curtains. I mean, you know, he moves here, and there you go, right? What are you going to do? You take with check, and that's it. That's basically it. And this is why he moved the bishop, so you don't get the queen check over here. I guess he's protecting that e8 square. But it's all over, folks. It's curtains. White wins that easy. Queen for rook. Come on. Now, let's just see. There was some other lines, too. Here you go. Here you go. Here's one. After this, there you go. Look at the computer. Look. He attacks the queen, right? So now, get a load of this. You say, oh, I better move my queen, folks. No. Look at the engine. I'm going to help you out. Look at this. You're taking the bishop with check. All right. He takes the checking piece, but you restore the check with the bishop. Now, what if he blocks? You don't want to block with the queen because you're going to lose it, right? Oh, let's block with the rook. Well, now it's checkmate. So now you don't lose the queen, but you lose the game. You see that, folks? Because she's pinned. On g7, the bishop on c3 pins that rook now. It's a back rank mate. That rook can't go back to block on g8. You see that? Good stuff to know. All right, so what's left? He's got to block with the queen. It's the only move. He takes, right? And no matter which way, if you want to take like this, right? If you take like this, you come, see, now the engine wants to keep the rooks on the board. I say why? Simplify, right? Give the check, trade the damn piece. You got your knight. Come on, folks. What's black going to do to you here? You're up a minor piece. Forget about it. No problem. Go back. Why go back? Why not just come in here, right? You come right in, forget about it. All right. So anyway, and if he takes the other way, like this, like they're saying, well, now you take over here with check. He moves. All right. Now you want a pawn and you're swapping down, right? So come on. Either way you look at it, it's over. All right. There you go. All right. Nice tactics, right? Well, this is. I mean, think of it, folks. This is what Lowenthal could have set up a few moves ago. Like he could have had those rooks doubled, and he could have been threatening this earlier even. But anyway, okay. So the queen. Let's just show it now. What do we do? Okay. The queen came back. Lowenthal doubles up, and he's threatening. You know, pawn takes on d6. And I showed it to you by moving the a pawn, just so we can do it, to show you what's going on. All right, so here we go. What does Morphy play after the rooks double up? He doesn't play a6, I can tell you that much. All right, let me show you now. Let's see, that's move 39, right? Move 39. Okay. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. All right. He brings his king. Okay, he makes a little breathing room. Because those tactics really worked, because the king had nowhere to go. That check on the dark square diagonal was killer. But now the king has g8 to run to if it need be, right? He's not forced to block with the queen and lose his queen. All right. So it changes things, right? The subtleties of chess. All right. So he moved the rook over, and now Lowenthal. Queen side expansion again. Another pawn moving closer. All right. Now Morphy brings his queen rook right here opposite the enemy queen on c3. So if there's something like this, we take back. We get a little tempo on the queen now. Okay? We get a little tempo. All right. So what does he do, folks? What does he do over here? Here it is. Queen to a3, right? Now, we got the engine going, so let's look into this, because there's a big note right here. It says, some of the best analysts in the metropolis came to the conclusion that white should have played pawn to c6. J. Lowenthal's note. After pawn to c6, pawn takes pawn. Queen pawn takes pawn. So he's creating that pawn side majority here. Look at this. Right? The queen side pawn majority. I'm trying to say. Now it's 3 against 1 over here, right? All right, so he takes that way. Well, you move the rook over here, attacking the b5 pawn. And now they're saying here, the queen goes here, right? They appear to have reckoned only with, this is all those in the metropolis. They all worked it out. They say, oh, look at this. The queen, black should play the queen here now. But it gives a little note. Max Lang suggests queen to f6 instead. Why? Because if you go by what the other analysts came up with, it leaves the door open for what they claim this move. Because now it's pinned. See, folks, the pawn on e5 is pinned. You can't take the bishop or you lose your queen, right? All right, so they trade more down. Big deal. So there you go. So this is winning for white, right? But here's the catch. So they're claiming, it's Max Lang suggested, don't bring the queen here. Bring it here, right? Bring it here. And here's Fritz likes this. But, okay, Schroeder right here, I should say. Schroeder likes it here. Max Lang likes to bring the queen there. But if you look at the damn game under the microscope with Schroeder, look at this. You could play this move, right, for white. This is what they said they feared, right? But there it is. Schroeder finds the move. Look, queen right here, attacking b5. The idea of this move is to come down and win this pawn. Now you got 3 pawns. But look, folks, look at what happens. I mean, this does nothing now. You take over here, right? I mean, heck, what's there to fear? What's there to fear? I think he'll take on c6. You can take the pawn on c6, right? I mean, heck, look at this. He takes this way. You got, yes, you get to win the exchange. You're going to win the exchange, right? I mean, folks, what's going on here? I don't get it. Black is fine. Look, -4, right? Black's winning. Black's winning this. Okay? The other program, Genius, used to change on whose move it was. So it would have said at this point, right, it would have said with Black's move, like it would have said that he was winning by +4. It was something odd about that program. But most of them, like Fritz and Shredder, if it's a negative score, it means that Black is winning whenever it's a negative score. Whenever it's a plus score, White is winning. So that's a little difference with this program too. So when it's negative, Black's winning. Black's winning by 4 pawns here. Okay? The other program would have had it +4 for Black. You know, different way of saying it. But anyway, it's a little sideline. I mean, this is the point of this, right, in the analysis. This is not a bad move. Some feared it because this, attacking A7. But it's not, doesn't go anywhere. And even Shredder says not to take here. That's losing for White. To push the pawn, right? So, all right, Black takes here. Here comes the rook down, attacking your bishop on C7. And he actually, does he take with the bishop? I would think he takes. All right, he takes with the pawn. Here you go. You get your minor piece back, but now look. Look at the tides have turned. Look at this. Now it's Black with the queen side pressure. It says right here he's up almost 2 pawns. There you go. Look at this. Look at what's coming. I mean, now I'm just shooting through the moves quick. I'm not giving it time, so they're probably not the best moves, but I think I mean, White has that C6 pawn, but according to the engine, Black's up. Black's up quite a bit, 2.5 pawns almost. So let's go a little further. Let's just see what happens. He's attacking. He's threatening here. Let's see what's he attacking. He has to defend. Let's just move. I don't know. Let's just move. What if they're just making silly move? What's going on? Oh, he's coming over there. Why would he go here though? What's the threat? I know this is pinned, but the knight's covering this. And if he's just going with the rook to A2 after the queen, look, he goes here. Now he wants to push the pawn. I think, if anything, folks, look, you see who has the initiative. I mean, it looks like White's king is under pressure, right? You know what I see? What if you go like this, right? Now you're threatening bishop takes H3, right? You're threatening this, like for instance, you just move this guy in. All right, they want to put him there, right? Because what's being threatened, let's just go here like this, right? I mean, you go after him. I mean, this is a whole other game, right? But look at the engine. Black's in control of this. Come on, right? I'm looking at this. You sack here. If he takes, it's all over, right? I'm just looking at it like that, mate. You're attacking. You get those rooks on the 7th. I mean, forget about it. And they had this. They came up with this move before. Why even do that? Game a tempo like this. He's forced to trade. Wow, look at this. Because he goes here, because if I take this one, well, then he takes that one, right? So you get a little in-between move. Attack the queen. Now, if the queen moves, now, look at it. Look at the tactics. Look how insane this is. The queen moves to safety. Well, now this rook isn't threatened anymore, right? He can't go here and try to... He can't even take it because the queen... He can't go here because of the light square bishop over there. So he goes here. Now he just loses the rook outright. But that's the best move at one point. That's what Shredder came up with. All right, so he goes there instead. All right, we take this way. What happens? What's going on? You check there. You take over here. Wow. You take here, threatening mate, Frank. You're threatening mate. Look at this. He takes this way. If he takes over here, you take with check, because your queen's under the gun on d5. So he moves. All right, fine, and then everybody's safe, right? Once you move your queen, everybody's safe. Oh, look at this. He comes in with check. Now it's he's still down by 5. I guess Black's gonna get out of this. I mean, look at this. Now he's got this. He wins this guy. All right, there you go. There you go. Look at this. It's coming down to an end game. These are the quick moves. You know, there's better, I'm sure. There's better moves for both sides. But there you go. There's a little flavor of the game. See how crazy, folks? When you go after all these Morphy games, look, even if you don't make the best move, you're going to have an energetic game worth playing. You know, you're going to have a lot of fun playing this game. I mean, you can't say you're going to have a dull moment. You know what I mean? You're going to have a shootout. Maybe you just crush the guy. Maybe you end up on the losing end of it, but it'll be some game. You know what I mean? You'll have some interesting positions. I mean, this is for the love of the game, folks. That's why I'm doing it. I love this stuff. You know, it's funny because a lot of chess nowadays, they're all so every little thing precise. You know, at the highest levels, all right, what are you going to say? It's the way it is. You got world-class contenders, right? But for me and you and the average guys and the weekend warriors, you know, this is hands down. This is great. I mean, you're gonna have a battle, you know. You want to have a good battle. There's gonna be mistakes made. Else every game would end in a draw. You know, that's why at the top levels you see so many draws. Because they're so accurate, folks. But you know, that's why I like going over these old games back in the day. It was all the tactics, folks. The real shootouts. All right, so look. Let's go all the way back. I don't even remember. You take, all right, this way, you bring the rook over. He brings this, the whole idea, right? This is nothing to fear. Queen up. There you go. It doesn't mention this in the notes. Queen to d5. From that point, you know, this is how it played out, right? Take there, and Black takes over. Black takes over now after this, okay? So it's not as easy. The old masters didn't go this deep, you know? They just left it at this last move. Bishop there. They feared that. So Max Lang said, oh, he should play it here instead. So there is no bishop there, right? Well, anyway, here's what they say. Lowenthal got a splendid game, but he missed his chance by not advancing pawn to a6 at move 44. All right, let's go back. Let's see what happens now. Because this didn't transpire. After rook over to c8, Lowenthal moved the queen off the c file to a3. All right, the king came over. He wants to get off that dark diagonal. And now Lowenthal pushes b6. Pawn takes. Bishop pawn takes pawn. Bishop pawn takes pawn. Now we got 2 against 1. See how it's whittling down? All right, now Morphy with the bishop coming back. Now move 44, folks. He brings the rook to c1. He brings the rook to c1. The notes just said move 44. He should have played the pawn up to a6, trying to create that passed pawn, right? Well, but now you have the rook simply going to a8. Nobody talked about this in the notes, nowhere. As simple as a move like this. Look, now it's going to be white who's losing. After this, it's a fancy way. It just basically white loses a pawn, right? He had 2 pawns over there. I mean, he doesn't lose a pawn. I guess he trades pawns, right? Because now all that needs to be done, you put the engine back on, right? And at the rook right here, they double up on that B6 pawn. And there you go. I mean, there it is. Look, he moves out on the engine, moves here. I saw it move over here before. Look, doesn't matter. You take with the rook now. What? Where are those pawns, right? Now it's actually black who's up a pawn, right? Black's up a pawn. Who knows? Draw, win, who knows? But it's now, look, it's -2 for black. Advantage -2, right? It's a 2 pawn advantage for all right, so now it's coming down the evaluation a little bit, but it still might be significant enough for a win for black. -1.96, folks. If you look up here too on the top, let's see, whose move is it? It's white's. Look up here, folks. You see this? You see right to the right of the queen here? There's that little chart. See the red arrow is leaning to the black side. See it? That means black's got an advantage. So anyway, there you go. So I mean, it's not so simple. They say that white should have pushed A6 here, but after rook A8, I don't know, folks. I don't know. All right. So anyway, I mean, look, even now, -1.79. That favors black. See? So here's what. Instead of pushing after this is move 43, Morphy pulls the bishop back, and Lowenthal just brings the rook to C1. Now they trade rooks. Morphy jumps on it, right? All right, bishop takes back. Now queen here. They get a little light square battery going, okay? Backing up his bishop. All right, so now watch this. So now the queen comes up to here. Lowenthal, queen to B4. Here comes the bishop attacking the rook. A little nuisance. All right, rook goes back to E1. Now we got the other bishop coming here, protecting the D6 pawn, I guess, getting off the back rank. Okay, and now look at this. Bishop to B2. Do you see the threat here, folks? Just so you know. Right? Let's say you do something silly like this. Well, now look, you just lost the pawn, right? Because if you take back here, there you go. It's like you traded bishops, but you won a pawn, right? So white would have won a pawn like that. But anyway, let's just go through what's the analysis after that. Yeah, +3, +3.3. All right. So anyway, so that's what's being threatened. Now, Morphy didn't do this. Come on, I'm just trying to show you. All right, so now we got rook. Look, he backs up his rook, okay? He plays rook there. So now this doesn't make sense, because now what? You take here? Really, wise guy? Come on. All right, see, this is why the moves are being made, folks. All right, so now you got the knight leaping in, right? Leaping in. All right, here comes Morphy. No brainer here. Get that guy out of here. We don't want the knight coming up. All right, he moves the knight back to F2, and let's see, he's attacking our bishop, right? But Morphy goes ahead and expands anyway. G4, going to try to rip it open, folks. He's trying to rip it open. Now, if there were, let's see what happens. All right, the queen. All right, the queen comes over here, right? Now there's 2 on the bishop, right? There's 2, the knight and the queen. So there's 2 on it. He's got to move that to safety. And he does. Now they trade over here. Look at this. Bishop pawn takes first. All right. They trade. They trade on G4. And after the queen takes, the rook comes over here. Comes to C1. I guess he wants to control that open C file. But after the king comes up, right? Look at the engine. Queen F3. How about that? That's what the old masters recommended, right? But lo and behold, Lowenthal brings the queen here. Queen to H3, question mark. J. Lowenthal claims the better game for white by challenging the exchange on F3, right? Just like Shredder found, too. But black would play queen to f5 and then attack the weak points in white's pawn position. That's Jay Lowenthal's. That's what he says would happen, you know. Looking at it, maybe. Who knows? I mean, you got the open H file. The rook could swing over there, right? Looks like, who knows? I don't know. Who knows where it goes? I mean, we do, let's see, four pawns against 4. The pawns are on the dark square. The black's dark square bishop's locked in behind them, but I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? The rook could come down on the C file for white. Interesting. I don't know where it would go from there. What does the engine say? Who's winning this? Who's winning this? This is a close one, right? Yeah, the rook's going to come down, pin that bishop, I guess. I don't know. Very interesting. You're going to see some interesting positions with the subtle difference of the queen's, with the queen coming to H3. You'll see in a second. I'm just looking at this. But anyway, all right. So look. I guess he wants to protect this guy. I don't know. Why would the bishop go here? All right. But anyway, okay. It's a whole other end game, right? So anyway, look at this. Look at this. He brings if the queen went there, like Jay Lowenthal said, black would bring his queen back. He doesn't want to trade like this, right? Because now he brings the pawn over here. Now it's a lot different than what the game turned out to be. Because now these two pawns, they're kind of kept back. See, the F3 pawn is a big difference compared to what ends up happening, which is this. Lowenthal brings the queen here. Morphy gladly exchanges, and now you got connected past pawns, folks. Nothing stopping those guys. They're connected, very dangerous. Now, I guess Lowenthal figured, well, I'm going to have a pass pawn on the H file. Maybe that's how he was thinking about it. Well, you make these decisions. They're very subtle. They don't seem like a big difference. But you're going to see what happens here now. Watch this. All right. So we got Morphy, like the engine, like Shredder. Morphy and Shredder think alike, let me tell you. All right. So here we go. Let me turn the engine off for now. We got the pawn to F3. Advancing those, that's your plus in the position, folks. You got connected past pawns. Put pressure on that opponent. All right, pawn up to F3, right? Now, very strange, but you had this move, right? Rook to F1, question mark. Here, white had pawn to A6 at his disposal, and the question was hotly debated whether he would have had the better game thereby. Morphy gives a number of variations of which the following seems least bad for black. This is the least bad for black, so he's saying it as if white is doing better with this move, right? Pawn to A6. Here's what he gives, Morphy gives. Bishop here, the pawn takes pawn, bishop takes the pawn on B6. Here comes the rook down, right? The rook down makes sense. You don't want to trade. Don't be a dope. You're just giving him a queen, right? All right, and then he's threatening. He's threatening to play B8 next to get a queen anyway. So the only way to stop that is to bring the bishop back here, right? Okay, you try to control that B8 square. All right, so what does white do here? Morphy gives bishop back to C1. Why? Well, let's give another move for black. King over. He wants to move it right here. Bishop to E3. You see that? Now, if he takes, remember that bishop's guarding B8. That opens the door for the pawn to walk right in. You can't do it, folks. So what does he do, right? He's only got one square. Right there, bishop B8. Can you believe this, folks? Bishop B8, blocking the pawn. Remember, he's still defended like this, right? And no, this doesn't do anything because he just takes, right, folks? All right. So anyway, this is Morphy's line. Bishop in. All right. Now the king comes up. This is what he gives. King up. All right, the other king comes over. All right, time to trade the rooks. Can do nothing about it, right? Because now black's threatening rook takes rook. Now the pawn recaptures queening, but then the king gobbles up the new queen, right? So you got to trade, okay? And at this point, once the king comes up, he covers the F2 square. He can take out that pawn. Now it's all over. It's curtains for black. All right, so here's why black's busted. He's busted because there's no way the black king could take out this B pawn on B7 and still stop the H pawn. I mean, it's impossible. The king can't be in two places at once because the bishop's no good. It's a bad bishop, folks. This is the definition of a bad bishop. Look at it. Its own pawns. Limited scope. Look, he can't go anywhere because of these guys. He's got to, look, think how long it takes. 1, 2, 3, right? And he's got to babysit him. He's got to babysit the B7 pawn. If he comes off of this, well, then the B7 pawn comes in. He has no time to get the king over there. And then, you can't even physically do it. Look, you can't get here because of the pawn. Control C8. If you go here, now you block him out. How are you going to maneuver this guy out of here? You can't even do it. You can't even do it. The minute he comes here and then he goes off, now the pawn goes in, right? He can't come over here because the white bishop's perfectly placed on E3, taking control of A7. So the bishop's it's dead wood. It's dead wood. So basically, the king, if he tries to come and kill the pawn, the H pawn walks in. He's out of the square of the pawn. Remember that, folks? I'll play the engine to make sure. Let's see. I'll put the king back. I'll play the engine. What's he want to do? He want to go there? All right, here we go. I mean, I'm going to get the engine's going to tell me what to do also, but, I mean, look, this is useless. It doesn't know what to do. Look, big deal. We take him off. He puts in, big deal, whatever. Right? He's just buying time, look. All right, now the king, he's got to babysit this guy, right? Now it could even be my king. I could get that pawn in, I think. Look, what's he gonna do? If he goes there, he's outside the square of the pawn, right? Let's see. How's he gonna stop this pawn? He can't. He can't even stop it, folks. Look, it's over. The computer doesn't even know what to do with himself at this point. Let's say if he tries to keep, all right, he tries to keep the H pawn. He leaves it just like this. King stops the H pawn, bishop on B8 stops the B pawn, and so on, right? And this guy defends the D6 pawn, I guess, right? If you want to look at it like that. I mean, heck. I mean, let's get it going. Look, you come up, right? You come up like. Whose move is it? All right, it's black's move. I mean, he can't just let me go in, right? All right, he comes up. There you go. He comes up like this. Let's see. We got to take away. Luckily, too, we control the queen and square. So the idea is. All right, we go here. So the bishop has no tempos. Now this bishop can't go anywhere to use a tempo, right? Look at that. So all right, so the king. If you go here, you just what the heck? He's letting me in. If he goes here, you let me right in, right? All right, what's he gonna do here? He's going in. He's going in for the kill. What big deal? Whatever. You trade here. Look, I'm in. What? He doesn't know what he's doing at this stage. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. He's got to go here, right? Let's see. He stays in front of this pawn, right? He goes here. Because the bishop has the dark square bishop has if he goes like this, look, folks, he pulls back. Can't we check him out of there? Oh, no, we got to take the light square. We got to take H7. We check him, he comes up here, right? It's the light squares our king has to take over, right? So we would have to march here, and now that's it. There you go, look. Now he'll go in. If he goes in this way to stop the pawn going in, well, now it's mate, right? There you go, checkmate. Right? And this bishop is here again. You'll see what I mean. Here, let's go back a few moves, right? Right? You check him, right? Let's say he goes here. If I move this guy off, now you're giving, all right, he can't go here, but he could go here, right? You're giving him a tempo. He could go nowhere. Look, you got to take away the tempos of this bishop. He could do this all day long if you don't put him in his place, right? Get out of here, you. Now, all right, he's throwing away his piece. He doesn't know what else to do. But now, if you back off the king, right? You back off the king. There you go. Here it is, right? He tries to stay in there. Look at that. You could even... You do it one of two ways. The engine likes to do it like this. And now he's forced. You force him, there's no other move. He's got to give up his bishop, right? Or you could do this, right? Check him. He goes here, you check. He goes over, and you get your queen, right? Let's see, what else did they see? Oh, look at this. You go here, and you box him in. And now you're going to mate him with the pawn. See that? He's only legal move is to move the bishop one here or there. And then it's checkmate. See that? So, all right, some beautiful little endgame patterns, but it's curtains for black at that point. This was where they left it off. Look, right here, king up. All right, here's an idea. You protect it, big deal. What are you doing? King's going to eat the e4 pawn. This guy can't move up because you got him, right? So, I don't know. You can't save the e4 pawn, right? You can't save him. Eat him up. Can you even eat the two of them? I guess you can. Right? Where's he going to go? Look, even if he tries to block on the light squares, right? All right, let's let him burn. He wanted to waste the tempo, I think. You know, if this guy comes out, you go in and now you're supporting the pawn push, right? That's another thing. Another thing to point out. He's going for the d5 pawn. Look, you put this one in. He takes, you take. All right, he's got that guy, right? This will be interesting. He can't do anything, right? Yeah, he comes this way. He takes. All right, we get one step closer. We can't abandon his pawn. Bishop takes, so he moves it up. All right, now we're in. Look at this. Look, nothing. There's nothing there. Can he try to block? He can't. The square, here's a little endgame thing, right? Here's a little endgame study, right? You give him this one. All right, so now it's an endgame, right? Look, typical endgame. He goes there, right? You can move him in, right? Protect. Or you don't want to give him stalemate, though. Oh no, is that going to be that would be a... Look at this. You could go here. If he takes, you march in, and he can't go back to stop the pawn. How about that? That's a good one. But here's the little. Let's do it the right way. Let's do it the right way. The king's gonna want to stay in the corner, right? So here we go. He comes there. Now he can't. He's forced out. He's forced out of the corner, folks, because we have this dark square bishop protecting the queen and square. Now, if this guy was on the wrong color, it would be a draw. Because there'd be no way that if he was on the light squares, if the king was to get to h8, right? If he was here, for instance, right? I can't do it, but let me see if I set up position. Where is it? Let me see. How do I do it? How do I do it? Oh man, I can't. Now I can't go back. All right. There we go. Let's see. Let's do this. Just to be thorough, folks. Let's do this. Right? He's there, right? And it's black to move. All right, fine. Black to move. Let's just do it. Right? Okay. All he does is he goes in the corner. There it is. Draw. How do I get him out of there? Right? If I go here, it's stalemate. He can't move, right? So if I go here, right? The only square for him is there. I can move it up, supported by the bishop, but he goes back in. Now what? Now how do I get him out of here? There's no way. Stalemate. There it is. It's stalemate. See that? I don't have the right color bishop. It has to control the queening square with a pawn queens. And that's a win for white. If it's the other way, well, there you go, right? If it's the other way, it's a draw. See this? All right, let's do it again. Let's get it back. We got to get this game back. How do I? Okay, hold. Right, rook over. Because folks, get this. Missed the tactics. Look, if you come here now, like they had recommended. Well, look at this. You got a check, right? And you win the rook, right? You win the rook. So look at that, moving too fast. All right, this was the first, and he probably wants to maybe bring the queen down here, you know, threatening the b7 pawn. But again, you got this tactic. All right, so that's another one. There's pitfalls throughout, you know. It's always something that you can easily miss. And here, all right, here we go. So Lowenthal takes total control of the C file. Makes sense, I guess, right? And now the king came up. There you go. There's a couple of moves I missed. All right, now instead of this, the queen went there, right? All right. So after the trade, all right, now, like we said, black has the passed F and E pawns. So now watch what happens. Morphy pushes up, right? And we looked at this, and we went through it all with this, the bishop going up here, right? They take, and that we looked at. That's what Maroczy gave as black's best. But here you go. Watch this. On this, why not just take the damn pawn, right? Let's play Shredder. This is better for black now. It's better for black. I mean, what white has now is the nuisance. Being a nuisance, right? You go here, move up, you protect your B pawn, right? I think this was the move. Look, you could do this. You attack that bishop, protect. Now you don't want to take because now the king's coming up to protect his pawns. And I think it's going to be black who wins this one. He's up. The position says he's up over 3 pawns up. I think because of those passed pawns there. I mean, the rook's going to stay. The rook may give a check over there. I don't know. But anyway, okay, look. We got, with the bishop here, he backs it off, right? Not even sure if that's threatening. Look. I don't know. It's a fight still, I guess. It looks like, yeah, even at this point, look, Goes here. If he goes here, isn't he going to park the bishop? Yeah. He's going to put the bishop on f2. It still says he's up like 3 pawns. Those passed pawns are dangerous. Why not take here? Because he takes there. I don't know. Saying black is winning this. He's up 6 now, almost 7 pawns. All right. So it's really not as easy as what they're saying here is white should have pushed there, but I don't think so. When he takes, black gets the better game out of this. If he tries to come down here, right, then look, black just brings the rook over here, keeping the white king out, because then he's going to push the f pawn. The bishop here on the light squares, he can't stop f2, because luckily the e pawn controls d4. The only piece that could stop that f pawn is the rook, so the rook has to go back. There you go, he puts it back. Look at this, look. He goes there, he goes for him. Now, if we advance e4, the bishop comes in here, right? If we go like this to protect our guy, then he protects his, see? It's similar, this is what happens before. It's like transposes, I guess. Oh, yeah, we got this one, right? Maybe that's a big plus. See, if he goes here, all right, he wants to get his king to be able to stop the f pawn, right? I'll tell you, folks, end games are crazy. Here we go. We come up. We don't want to go back on the back rank, because then there's all those promotion. If we go back like this, he could push this one perhaps, right? And now, well, look at it. He still, look, we got this one. So he goes here, right? Look at that. If he takes, then we promote on A1, right? This game is nuts. Look at this. He goes back. All right, he gets to abandon the... Oh, look. Look at what's happening. Why even take that? Look, we get our queen, right? Why not? Or maybe look, because then we win the rook, right? We got the bishop protecting that A1 square. But even then, we could take that and plan to do it next. Heck, look at this. Look at this. See, it really does show. I know I'm whipping through the moves here. Oh, we take with check, huh? Look, you go there, then you take off again. It's all over. So, with that A pawn for black, remember? Wasn't it? It was white who wanted the queen side expansion and the extra pawn. And it turns out in this variation, what we just did, this A pawn's a lot of trouble for white. There's really nothing he can do against it. We have the bishop on f6 that's going to support. Really, there's no time to stop this A pawn. He protects the B pawn. Look, it keeps coming. Look at this. Just keep pushing. Who cares, right? Bring it in. You park them in there. This is another quick. We're just firing off the moves, there's probably better for both. I understand, but you're seeing some ideas. That's the bottom line. You see the ideas that are available. You know, during your game, you see things. You watch these games and these variations, you start seeing patterns and things that will crop up in your game, and you'll be able to take advantage. All right, so it's not as easy as it looks, and the old masters with this A6 move being the move that should have been played, I don't know. Every variation I had looked at, and some of the ones I fired off over here, seem to have black coming out on top. So Lowenthal goes after the pawn on F3, right? But now Morphy, of course, plays the natural move, you know, to defend F3. Well, now the bishop parks in on D4, trying to control the dark diagonal to stop those pawns. You got to try to stop them from moving. So now, right now, the bishop is protecting that the dark squares, right? F2, E3. Okay. So now we're on move 59. Right, 59. All right, just like in our other variation, the bishop challenges. Again, you don't want to take because now the king's coming up to help support those pawns. Right? Okay, so he parks it back, I think back here, right? Bishop E3. Okay, rook. Attacking the pawn. He brings the bishop back. I don't think he could do anything with the rook, right? Because why, folks? That's why. Let me take the engine off because it's giving the dead giveaway, right? You were supposed to see I took the engine off. Now you can't see the arrow, right? I wanted to surprise you. You always got to look out for those sneaky bishops, right? So the only way to protect the A pawn now is to put the bishop back there. But now look, now you let the bishop take control of F2 and E3. See how it works? There's a method to the madness, right? All right. Lowenthal pushes the pawn up. I don't know what else he could really do. All right, here comes the black king. Comes the white king. All right, rook to protect F3 so that he could advance the E pawn. All right, so now the king comes up. See, he could push this guy perhaps, right? But what he does, actually now, watch this. Actually, if he pushes this, right, he can take, wow, I won a piece, right? Now look at this. Now look at this. Put the engine on. This is unbelievable, right? Now, if you'd say, wait a minute, this is a no-brainer. I got the piece, right? You trade, and you figure you're going to win now because you got the bishop. Look at how it turns out, folks. This is unbelievable. All right, so he goes here, right? Guess what? He's got to stay. This bishop has got to stay on this diagonal. If he doesn't, he loses. If he goes anywhere, let's say he just parks here, right? If he goes in, now the pawn comes in. He's going to march in, so you got to stop that guy. Now this one marches in. And this bishop is blocked. He can't do anything. The only way to stop these two guys is to keep this bishop over here on this diagonal. On this diagonal. Right? So you go there. Now, if he pushes now, look, you take, right? If he goes there, bishop takes. So he takes there, and now you can stop him. See that? So you got to keep the bishop on this diagonal. So the whole deal after this, right? All right, now he gets a tempo. All right, he goes after this one, right? But he can't even take him. Remember what I said. So now, I mean, you know, are we going to do this all day long? It's a draw. See, folks, it's actually a draw if you look at the evaluation. No one could make any headway. Because the white king wants to come right in. But he goes there, right? Now he actually wins. Can you believe this? Holy smokes. He takes here. Now, look. Now the king's going to eat up the pawns. So, the way it was is the black bishop well, even the pawn controls e5. Right? Even the pawn e5 right here. once he pushes the pawn, what does he do? I mean, wow, he's busted. Black is busted. Let me see if this makes sense. So he goes back. The king comes up. The king is keeping him off the light squares, especially this one to come on in. See, the door's closed right now. He can't go. The white king can't go on any of these squares, and the pawn on d6 controls d5. So it's a wall. He can't get in, right? But by pushing this, let's see, wait, he just say he shuffles this guy here. And then that's it. I mean, if you go here, the pawn advances. And remember, if the bishop tries to cover h8, right? There you go. You get these guys. Right? Or if you go this way, right? You go in over here. He can even do this. He goes there. He takes. I mean, they like to push this one. All right, this guy goes in. You see? Crazy, huh? There's an end game for you, folks. Holy smokes. So really, how would Black's just gotta... What could he do? He can't do anything. I guess he's busted. Right? It's a draw right now. The king comes up. And he's going to support that h5 pawn push with check. And then he's going to come in. This is crazy. All right, look. I mean, all right, they're giving this. He's busted. I just stumbled into this. I can't believe it. And now the king comes in. Right? Already protects him, right? He's coming in. He's coming in. It's over. Look at +7. He's going to get the B pawn. It's over. There we go. See, I guess he doesn't want to take. The white king doesn't. I mean, he wouldn't take the D pawn. Because that D pawn is good. It blocks out the bishop. Well, what could you do? It's all over. All right. So anyway, we go all the way back. Whew, boy, I'll tell you. Whew, these games, right? Now, that was the little trap I told you. I said, it looks like Black's going to win here. You take. Look at this, right? You take it, and it's white who's the winner. Who's had the winning chances here? Can you believe it? Bishop back. You don't even have to go that way. You go right up. King over. Now you go up. So you go over here. Uh-oh, let's see. Can he get it in time? I don't think so. Oh, maybe he can. He's busted anyway. He's going to win that bishop. The king could now stop the pawns. See that? So if there was something like this now, and you take, and this guy takes, see, he could stop him. Oh, matter of fact, actually, he can't. They got the H pawn still. So wait a minute. You just take this way. All right. And then the pawn goes in, and he stops it with the king. All right. That's what I was thinking. There you go. No big deal. He's got the king on d7 now. He could stop it, but the king comes over this way, right? Comes on up. He goes there. I don't know why he just takes this one. He should just move, and then he takes out the queen. It's a mate in 10. Wants to get closer to that pawn. There you go. He's gonna win. He's gonna win that. He's gonna win the pawn over here easily. But even now, he could just go in. All right. So anyway, well, I'll tell you, end games are crazy. Be here forever. All right. So there's a little threat. So he doesn't push that one. Morphy pushes. Right. Morphy pushes. The pawn to f2. Well, the king goes back. Now the other pawn comes up, and believe it or not, he puts the bishop, Lowenthal bishop to e1. All right, now the king comes up, and now the other king protects the h pawn. Now he takes queen, right? He takes here, and he's resigned. He already resigned. Just to follow what's going on. Right after the pawn took the bishop and queen, Lowenthal resigned. But look at this now. With the rook to f2, look at this. He's taking here. There's no other move. Why? Because if he moves off, let's just say he takes the c file, right? You give check, mating net, folks. Look at this. Did you see that one? Did you see that coming? The king, look at him. The king keeps him off of g4. The black king controls g4. So it's a mating net. Look at that. Check, mate in 2. That's why the engine's just saying that, like, it's desperation time, you know. Yeah, look at this. If you go to stop him this way, well, then he queens, you take, and then he takes, right? You're still winning this, but you simply bring the rook back to stop it. You don't bring the bishop back to a7 to stop the pawn. There you go. Game over, right? All right, I know it was long-winded and all, but it has some interesting moments, right? So Morphy trying to use this Bowden variation in the Ruy Lopez, really never tried again by Morphy. I guess he learned this lesson. It's not how you want to play chess. It's not the way you want to open the game, you know, all crunched and, you know, your pieces aren't just on the back ranks. Pretty silly, right? All right. So anyway, we'll see you next time. All right. Morphy's games of chess continue. I'm glad to be back, folks. All right. I hope you like the new design, the new board. All right. Take care now. Till next time.